Hello and welcome to Tpot's Cancer Awareness video for spa and beauty therapists. My name's Michelle Hammond, founder of Tpot, the division of Spa Business School focused on educating health in wellness. Although we've widened our educational reach of late, including now dementia, disability, diabetes, depression and burnout, cancer is still the greatest challenge we face and as such remains our biggest mission. So for those of you new to Tpot, Tpot is an acronym for the power of touch. One of our guiding quotes is this one here from Irene Smith that says touch was never meant to be a luxury, that it's a basic human need, that its action validates life and gives hope to both the receiver and the giver, and that the healing of touch is reciprocal. And at Tpot we believe that fundamentally, because this is a people industry like no other. I believe the essence of our industry and the heart of what we strive to be and do is always centred around touch, whether we're trying to touch people physically, mentally, emotionally or spiritually. Touch is in essence what we do. So why cancer? Well, as you can see, it's now reported that 1 in 2 people will develop a cancer just here in the UK by 2020. That's just a few years ahead of us, and near 50% of the population will have a form of cancer. That's now directly impacting our immediate families, our immediate social circle of friends and our community. Currently, it's said that every 2 minutes someone in the UK is diagnosed with a cancer. And actually, since the 1970s, incidence rates of cancers have increased by almost 30%. And the cost to the NHS is around £6 billion a year. And that's let alone the estimated £10+ billion for both economic and unpaid care costs. So we needed to delve deeper. We needed to understand why. And so we committed to doing a body of research which first showed us that 97% of our UK spas and salons were turning people away from having cancer. So all of the UK spas and salons listed in all our key trade journals and directories that we contacted had a blanket ban in place, if you like, that said, and if somebody ticks that form on their consultation card that says they have cancer or are currently active in treatment or going through chemotherapy or however the question is posed, they would automatically turn them away. They would not treat them unless they had a doctor's note. Some people needed just a doctor's note. Some people needed to say, the doctor's note needed to say that they were in remission. But fundamentally, most people are turned away for having cancer. And when we talk about Tpot empowering for treatment, we're talking about massage fundamentally. As of the thousands of clients we interviewed, it's primarily full body massage or some form of body massage that they were seeking and being turned away for. We do appreciate there are some examining boards that have no restriction for you doing manicures and pedicures, which is bizarre. You're potentially more at risk having a manicure and pedicure with metal implements that may not have been sterilised and cutting cuticles and that sort of thing than you are a sort of non-invasive therapeutic massage. And the same with facials. Some examining boards and awarding boards have no restrictions on facials, and it seems most spas, salons, and definitely day spas and health farms have little guidance, if little monitoring in place for people that are potentially using saunas, steam rooms, swimming pools and hydropools, which obviously with an immunosuppressed client, as somebody with cancer is, has much greater risks than having, again, a therapeutic massage. So when we're talking about people being turned away, fundamentally with Tpot, we're talking about people being turned away when they've come to seek a therapeutic, relaxing, indulgent based body massage. So we knew we needed to delve deeper. We knew we needed to understand the real whys of that, not just within our own industry, but in the industries that obviously play a part in making that the case. So Spa Business School commissioned in-depth research into the challenges of treating clients with cancer in UK spas, and I decided to break the research into 5 key groups. Those 5 key groups being, as you can see listed, spa and salon owners and operators, therapists and practitioners, awarding bodies, associations and further and adult education establishments, the medical profession themselves and insurers. And for those of you that attend Spa Life, you'll know that we presented with Catherine Douthwaite-Blay, who helped me with the research, those findings. And it was due to presenting those findings at Spa Life UK 2014 that Tpot was born, because we had such overwhelming support from the industry to see change, and so little was being done. There were organisations out there, charity organisations out there, that were obviously offering complementary therapies to people with cancer. We found some amazing individuals who had developed skincare specifically for people with cancer. We saw international organisations which at that time had only got some online learning, but may either have been very Americanised or very irrelevant to the UK market specifically. Lots of people doing great stuff, but not really very cohesively or congruently to tackle with the issue to make it fundamentally change, both at grassroots level, i.e. in our colleges and our sort of training organisations, right the way through to getting to those veteran therapists, those individuals like myself that trained maybe 20, 30 years ago, who fundamentally are still, following those guidelines. So we decided to, delve deeper into the research, and again, those of you that would have been present for that research would have known, where some of those challenges come. But in summary, the biggest barriers we found across all of those 5 client groups was fear, misunderstanding, confusion, and sometimes a reluctance to lead the change. And relatively understandably, it's an industry we've all come into to help people look good and feel better. None of us come into this industry wanting to potentially harm somebody, worsen their condition, or even, God forbid, have somebody die on our treatment table. So we know that therapists are scared. They've been categorically told, don't question it. Somebody ticks cancer, bounce them to their doctor, end of conversation. And for 30 years, nobody has had the conversation. So we know most of our therapists come into the industry, physically wanting to make a difference on how people look and feel. Owners and operators want to protect their clients. Of course, they don't want to see their clients coming in and going away feeling anything other than better than when they arrived. We know that, of course, they want to protect their brands, their reputation, and they don't want to cause harm, but they also don't want to be seen to be negligent or liable. We know that insurers, have typically had a blanket ban, although most of the insurers we spoke to seem confused, as they believe that our industry guidelines are there for a reason and obviously are right, relevant and up to date. So, they've never questioned them. So if our own industry guidelines are saying that there's this blanket ban, you mustn't treat people with cancer, then of course the insurers say, look to your guidelines. If your guidelines say it's okay to treat, we'll insure. If they don't, we won't. Typically, if you phone up most insurers and have a physical conversation with them, there's normally a way showing a duty of care that they will enable you to treat without any further training at all, as long as you're a fully qualified level 3 beauty therapist or above, and as I say, have showed that duty of care. In fact, actually, interestingly, when we spoke to the insurance group, lots of different ones had different understandings of what showing a duty of care might mean. Some of them, it is simply that, just picking up the phone and saying, hey, I own a spa, I've got 20 therapists, they're all qualified, etc., etc. I can prove their qualifications. We know that, people having cancer will be going through different treatments and having different experiences, but if they've got up and stood in front of us and they want a treatment and they're prepared to sign their consultation form, taking responsibility for that treatment, is that okay? Some insurers say absolutely fine, no problem at all. Others say no, the duty of care needs to be a little bit more than that, so there needs to be more of a statement on what you adapt or modify differently for someone presenting with cancer. Some say their duty of care means that we need to evidence that somebody's attended a workshop, but it could be a 1-hour workshop with the local hospital or hospice group, and some, obviously, it's more of an advanced training where they want to see that you've both done some physical training on how to adapt your massage and some theory behind it. From Tpot's stance, I fundamentally believe a fully qualified beauty therapist has all the skills and knowledge they need to be able to carry out a therapeutic massage safely for people with cancer. However, as an educator and as a businesswoman, I always want people to do more, to push themselves further. So we definitely need to widen the level of understanding for therapists particularly, i.e., what cancer is. A lot of therapists couldn't even succinctly tell you what cancer is, let alone then how cancer can affect people. And as we know, cancer does affect people very differently. No one individual is the same, even if they both have breast cancer or both have testicular cancer or both have throat cancer. These cancers are very different for every unique individual that has them. And that's why, as an industry, we must be working hard to treat people where they are and who they are. So if they're an individual that has, diabetes or depression or heart conditions, we would be doing something to adapt or modify their treatment. And it's no different with someone with cancer. If someone's been well enough to get up and get in front of us in a spa environment, they are well enough for us to do some form of therapeutic massage that we adapt and modify for who they are and where they are right there and then in that treatment room, just as we would if they were pregnant, obese, diabetic, had a heart condition, any of those things, we would adapt and modify. So we have to educate our therapists in what cancer is, what the impact of cancer can be emotionally and physically, what the implications and associated symptoms and side effects of clinical treatment of cancer can be, and obviously the products we use. For Tpot, we're always talking about a therapeutic massage where we use just a base carrier oil for massage as a general safe option for most people with cancer at any stage of their cancer and in any stage of their treatment plan. And that tends to be, supported and sits comfortably with the medical profession. We know that a lot of the associations and awarding bodies really are at the turn. They want to change. They know these guidelines have sat unchallenged for a long, long time, and they want to do something differently. And they know that, this is 50% of our population we're heading towards. We cannot keep turning our back on them. We cannot shut the door. So as a result of that, examining boards like the Vocational Training Charitable Trust have been really at the forefront of pushing this forward. They've released their own Level 4 training programme nearly a couple of years ago now that looks to help people train a little bit more advanced in this subject. But it does, in and of itself, force people to then think it is a really advanced training you have to go on to be able to treat people, and that's not the case. That yes, there's some general awareness you need to have, and yes, most often for therapists it's about building confidence and some comfort around treating people with cancer and being one-on-one in the room with somebody that's going through cancer and not feeling overwhelmed by that, and looking at how we can emotionally support our therapists in that way. But again, that's something I think as an industry we do quite poorly anyway, is really support the underpinning communication, confidence and comfort skills with their therapists to interact with people with all sorts of diseases and conditions that are currently being presented with, let alone just cancer. So we know awarding bodies want to change. We know they're pushing the boundaries. A lot of them have reached out to us with Tpot to look at, what should they be writing in their guidelines, what can they be writing, and working really closely with both us and a lot of the medical professionals to make sure that their guidelines is changing. And I think ultimately that will see the insurers obviously fall in line much easier when that general consensus is there. So that reluctance to lead the change has obviously been quite paramount, especially in the last decade. And we've had the medical profession, which seems to have been the only one of those groups that seemed so cohesive and congruent in their advice, that was wholeheartedly, yes, embrace these people and treat them. We've worked really closely with some amazing individuals at the Christie, Bart's Health Group, which covers the 7 largest hospitals in the UK, in London, Mount Vernon Hospital, a specialised cancer unit up in my neck of the woods in sort of the Bucks, Berkshire area, the Royal Marsden, have all helped add insight, direction and reassurance to us that the benefits of touch, i.e. a therapeutic massage, is really important, let alone physically, but emotionally for someone, from diagnosis and beyond. and that the benefits of touch, as many doctors, oncologists and other advanced complementary practitioners working within a hospital setting and the voluntary sort of cancer charity sector have kind of voiced their frustrations that when people are referred for treatment, for therapeutic treatment in a spa, to help them relax, catch a breath. That it's frustrating for the hospitals, the oncologists and the complementary teams working in hospitals to have to see these people come back and go, no, I was turned away. That adds to people's fear, it adds to people's insecurity, and it adds to the trauma of what's already a really challenging and a really difficult time. So as an industry, we have a responsibility to come together and really see this change quite rapidly. So I thought I'd just share a couple of the key quotes and statements with you in regards to some of those individuals, or just some of the general guidance that's out there in the public domain. I mean, this stuff is not a secret. Nobody owns the rights of this information. It's there for us all to see and all to access. And I'm a big believer in never taking sort of anything at face value. Delving deeper and researching for yourself what the current thinking is across the medical and scientific thinking, as well as obviously on the sort of more challenging side. So Dr. Peter Mackworth, an amazing guy that if you haven't read any of his work, you really must Google him. You'll find a whole heap of amazing articles and insights on, treating people with massage, particularly, and reflexology and aromatherapy within sort of the specialisation of sort of cancer care. Now, obviously, Dr. Peter Mackworth runs training programs at the Christie. Well, he doesn't now, he's retired himself, but his team do. For spa and beauty therapists, so you can go up there and do all sorts of training. Now their training tends to be focused much more on people that want to work within that hospital and clinical setting, which is very different. So I've talked about the fact that actually existing qualified beauty therapists have all the skills they need. We just need to help them do a workshop to deepen their understanding on cancer, the side effects of cancer, and how to feel more confident and comfortable with the consultation, and what to adapt and modify depending on the various types of cancer, stages of cancer and interventions the individual may have had. Where the Christie also look at taking people to more advanced training. So if you want to specialise in lymphedema training, which does need specialised training, if you want to deal with people who aren't well enough to get up, get dressed and present to your spa, but are potentially going to be in a more hospice or hospital setting, then again, in that palliative care bracket, you are going to need to do a lot more advanced training to give you the right skills and capabilities to work with people effectively in that environment. So he says many of the myths surrounding the use of massage for people with cancer come from misunderstandings about the nature of the illness and the medical treatments commonly given. Cancer Research UK themselves, again, Google it, it's there on their main website, for everyone to see, all those thousands of people hitting diagnoses every day. Some people worry that a massage when you have cancer may make the cancer cells travel to other parts of the body. No research has proved this to be true. Now at Tpot, we took that really responsibly, and we've gone back the last 50 years to look for evidence of any link between massage spreading cancer, and it's just not there. And actually quite a lot of the medical professionals, particularly oncologists and that, laugh at us when we kind of talk about this, because they don't believe massage obviously is as powerful as maybe we do in the sector. And so, they just think it's ridiculous that potentially, we have this power to really help somebody, and there are so many evidence benefits to massage that at a potential risk of something that's never been proven, we turn everyone away. I mean, it does seem ridiculous, doesn't it? We wouldn't do it for any other health condition. We don't do it for any other health condition, disease or diagnosis. So we really have to stop doing it for people with cancer. That doesn't mean we should offer every single treatment, every type of treatment for anyone with cancer at any stage of cancer. We are talking about a light therapeutic massage adapted and modified for people specifically where they are and with what they're presenting with at that moment. But Cancer Research UK say go on out there, have a massage, it's fine, it will not cause your cancer to spread. Dr. Peter Mackworth, again, there is no evidence that massage might contribute to the progression of cancer or cause contamination of the therapist with chemotherapy or radiation. And again, that's another really key point. There is no evidence that massage might contribute to the progression of cancer. People are really fearful enough of their cancer spreading. What we mustn't do is add to that anxiety. But also, I'm not talking about throwing people around in advanced time massages or digging our elbows into areas they've had recent surgery. We're talking about taking our massage responsibly, as we should be with every single client stepping into our treatment room anyway, but that there is no evidence that doing a therapeutic massage will have any negative impact on an individual's cancer in any way, shape, or form. And that contamination of a therapist with someone who's in active treatment is absolutely not possible. There is a period with radiation where individuals are advised, to stay home or to stay away from individuals, and that's their guidance and care, and they're not the people that are going to be standing up in front of you. And if they are, the day after their radiation, it would be very unlikely, then there is grace to kind of necessarily refer them back. But they're within their guidelines, and that's definitely within the Tpot training and workshops we would advise. But actively going through treatment, if they feel well enough to get up and get in front of you, as NICE guidelines stipulate as kind of introvert care for an individual, is if they feel well enough to get up and get in front of you, then treatment should be made available to them. And that should translate into our industry as a wellness industry too. This is not about treating people in a hospital setting or at home where they may not be well enough to get up and get dressed and get in front of you. But in our spa and salon environments, that's what an adult is doing. They're taking the responsibility to get up, get dressed, come in front of us and present for a therapeutic-based treatment to help them emotionally and mentally connect, and quite often just take respite from a really challenging period. Macmillan, obviously the biggest organisation here in the UK, states some people worry that massage could cause cancer cells to spread to other parts of their body. Research has not found any evidence of this. And these are organisations that have a huge responsibility to give the most current thinking. And these guidelines have been in place from both organisations for decades. And it really is time as a wellness industry we catch up, because we cannot just treat people that are well. Our job is to open our doors to anyone who presents and to help them find balance, as I say, physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually in some cases. So Tpot's mission is to ensure that no one with cancer is turned away from a UK spa or salon by the end of 2018. And when I say that, as I said at the beginning, I'm always talking about no one is turned away for a light therapeutic massage. We're not necessarily talking about being able to have everything off the service menu in any combination and using a whole heap of different products that may be aggravating for the individuals. We're talking about a therapeutic massage with a base carrier oil of grapeseed is what's recommended by the Christie and lots of complementary therapy practitioners in the hospital setting, and that's the one that as Tpot we recommend too. It's just a base grapeseed oil in a therapeutic massage that is safe, and no one need be turned away, because that's the issue. It's not always that these individuals wanted a specific deep tissue or a Thai massage or some bamboo massage or what, a hot poultice, whatever. A lot of them just want to be accepted. They just want to come in, they're with their girlfriends, their husband, their family, and they just want to feel pampered. Quite often they just want to forget about their diagnosis for a moment, take a breath, take a moment to reconnect with themselves. So our job is to make sure there's always something we can do for anyone who presents to us, and that, as I say, Tpot's goal, our mission is to ensure that no one, if we do that same survey we did at the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, that instead of 97% of UK spas and salons turning people away, that our goal is to have it as zero. That treating people with cancer is so normalised, it's no different than treating people that might be obese, or treating somebody that might have, might be pregnant, or that might have a, sort of skin condition. All of these are issues that we have to adapt and modify, and cancer should be no different when the person is well enough to get up and get in front of us. So how are we going to do it? Well, Tpot's goal is obviously all about educating and empowering, and we believe that if we can educate and empower all UK therapists, those that are currently in training, newly qualified and veteran therapists, to know what's possible, practical and beneficial when treating clients with cancer, then we can move forward and achieve that goal. And hopefully, as I say, we can normalise the treatment of cancer, and we can normalise the welcoming and warmth of those individuals and their friends and family that are impacted by us turning them away. So by committing to provide all our entry-level online awareness training and one-day therapeutic touch practitioner programs for free, we believe we can ensure real results and real change, so that automatically welcoming those with cancer does become our industry norm. And that was really important for me, and I know that I've got a lot of flack from it in the industry, and a lot of people think that I'm irresponsible for making or committing to making this entry-level training free. But as I said earlier, this information is out there anyway. Nobody owns it. It is out there, and if we search for it, you'll find all the same research, all the same facts, all the same findings we have. If you go talk to the same big key hospitals, if you go and find all the same scientific studies, you will find the same comfort and reassurance we have in the facts that are already out there in the public domain for everyone. I don't believe this needs a price tag, because by giving it a price tag, and I'm a businesswoman, I love to see opportunities to grow my business, and I'm not adverse to earning money or making a profit, and I've never been ashamed of either. But I fundamentally believe as a wellness industry, we have failed our clients with this one. I fundamentally believe we are 30 years behind, that the medical profession have been screaming at us and laughing at us for being so ridiculous to be turning these people away, and that now we're in a situation where we have an epidemic with cancer. There are nearly 50% of the walking population around us right now that are going to be diagnosed with a cancer in their lifetime. And I don't think it's acceptable that we should be discriminating against somebody for a condition that is outside of their control and that they haven't asked for. Nobody wants a diagnosis of cancer. And definitely nobody wants a door slammed in their face as a result of it. So I believe personally and very strongly that as an industry, we have a real responsibility to come together and to make this change. And I believe by putting a price tag on it, all we do is make it something that can only change at the luxury end of the market. And I know that market really well. I've played in that sector for the last 15 years and I love it. You know, luxury spas and leading spas really push the boundaries in driving wellness out there to the masses in a really aspirational and inspirational way. And it is such a diverse sector with so many incredible individuals. But all of your little beauty salons and health clubs and smaller spas and day spas that struggle to keep their head above water, to hold on to good therapists, to keep themselves, on top, are the ones that will lose out. And there are so many clients that go to those doors too. They don't all go to just our luxury hair spas. They don't all go just to our luxury hotels and resorts. They go to every type of facility on offer within the UK, and they're being turned away from all of them. So we have to make sure that this information can reach everybody. Therapists are undeniably paid really poorly for what they do, and quite often they can't afford to self-teach, they can't afford to self-fund in their own development, and a lot of those employees can't afford to add more to the training. They might already take them out for 10, 15 days a year to both do compliance training and product house training, and to add more costs, more training is unreasonable. And unfortunately, it just means then it falls to the bottom of the pile all of the time. And so if we genuinely want to see this change, I believe we've all got to take responsibility and do something. And for me, that was making the training free. Yes, I could have just added it into my portfolio of training, put a great price tag to it and said, there we go. But to me, that wasn't what it was about. This was the first time of bringing really amazing people together, a whole host of exceptional medical professionals from the Christie, from Bart's Health, from all of these amazing specialists in cancer care in the UK. Incredible individuals in pharmaceutical roles and skincare development roles, right the way through to leading operators and owners and brands, and saying, what can we do? What services, facilities, can we leverage to make this happen, to get this out there? And although we started with a much bigger boardroom table that has dwindled down for those that have got competitive or gone off or wanted to see it done with a price tag or in a very different way, we have a core team of people and linked very strongly with a good medical profession that want to see us make this change. And we will push forward until that mission is achieved. But at the same time, we want to see more training providers out there. We want to see more people coming into the training sector privately who are putting costs to their courses. That's fine. We want to see all of the colleges opening up training. So actually a lot of that's done at grassroots. If the awarding bodies jump on board, then actually we eradicate a big chunk of the issue, because if we're training throughout all level colleges, like London College of Beauty Therapy have committed to do, then we are going to be changing the way this is perceived for all of those therapists coming into the sector, which hopefully, like a domino effect, will impact everyone right the way through to those more veteran practitioners too. So we want to make this entry-level training free and available. We will create videos and webinars and apps and more workshops that we can possibly do to try and make sure that happens, so we can reach as many people as possible in as quick a time as possible, because I don't think we can wait. I think the time is now. And, the truth is, there is no evidence to suggest that there is any other reason to unwelcome people, to be turning people away. We know that people have all sorts of thought processes around massage. Could spread cancer, it can promote lymphedema, which actually Dr. Peter Mackworth will tell you the importance of having massage to prevent lymphedema. Actually a really great article of his that if anyone wants, Google it, otherwise ping me an email and I'll happily send you a link. That massage puts pressure on the lymphatic system, which can be fatal, that they can be contaminated, that it can kind of detoxify or flush the kind of important chemotherapy drugs or medications that the individual is taking out of their body, or that a therapist can be exposed to radiation for someone who's undergone radiotherapy treatment sort of weeks or months in advance. None of that is true. None of that is proven, and it's not been any concern at all to any of the hospitals or medical professionals we've worked with or alongside when collating our programme. But as I always say to everybody, never take my word for it. The research challenge we set in our workshop, and we encourage you to go away and do now, is go find out for yourself. Phone all your local oncologists, go out to all your voluntary organisations, speak to your local Macmillans and Cancer Research UK organisations, find out where all your, specialists are, and ask the question, what are the challenges? What are your concerns? Is there a reason I shouldn't be doing this? And find out for yourself. Go back into the medical files and the scientific studies and research and see for yourself, the evidence that's there about the benefits rather than the risks. And one of the things, I always like to reiterate is know that you are already enough. If you are a therapist committed to doing the best you can in your treatments, you are already enough as a qualified beauty therapist to deliver a therapeutic-based massage to someone well enough to get up, get dressed and stand in front of you who has cancer, recognising that they are the person first. And we, as I say in Tpot, are only talking about a therapeutic massage that is adapted from your traditional Swedish massage, and we adapt air pressure and we adapt the range of movement we do to create a universally safe technique that is suitable for anyone, whether they've been recently diagnosed or have already completed or undergone their active treatment. There is no scientific or medical evidence to suggest massage for someone with cancer is anything other than beneficial. There is power in your touch. You really do have to believe that. The power in your touch is that you have the ability to help someone take a breath, to reconnect with themselves when their whole world has turned upside down, spinning around, when they're potentially feeling isolated and excluded. Your touch, your subtle energy and your subtle touch has the power to really nurture and nourish them in a way you cannot understand. all of the clients we've spoke to, and we have spoken to thousands that have undergone complementary, we're talking about complementary therapies, not alternative, complementary therapies whilst undergoing their medical treatments and under the care of their oncology team. The benefit of that appointment just being in the diary, of turning up to that spa rather than a hospital setting for their treatment, is just so powerful. Being normalised. So many clients say to us, I just want to feel normal. I just want to walk into that spa with my friends and put a white robe on too. I don't want to be the odd one out. I don't want to be, the person that's, drawn out of a crowd by, unfortunately, quite often a young therapist saying, oh, sorry, you've ticked the cancer box, you can't have a treatment with us today, or you should have been told, or you shouldn't have been booked in, or actually your voucher's changed, well, we can't do this, that and the other. These things are in our control, and we have the ability to really, really help someone through a very challenging time, and we really must. So what is cancer anyway? We talked earlier about how educating, empowering therapists is at the heart of what we want to do. And so we want to make sure that, people understand. So in our programs, we go into a lot more depth, but I thought actually it'd be worthwhile just having a quick summary here too, if you're watching this video. So cancer is when abnormal cells divide in an uncontrolled way. As cells, grow, die off, change all of the time, but normal cells have a pattern of behaviour that cancer cells break. They become abnormal in the way that they divide. It becomes uncontrolled, unmanageable, like an unruly teenager really. And as Cancer Research UK sort of diagnostics show here, cancer starts when gene changes make one cell or a few cells begin to grow and multiply too much, and this may cause a growth called a tumour. So most of us are familiar with that entry-level terminology. So, obviously a cancer cell, grows unconditionally, it mutates and multiplies, and as a result, a tumour can be either seen or felt, and it's normally at that stage that people have gone forward to their doctor or their medical professional and been diagnosed. We know that a primary tumour is the name for where a cancer starts. So this is obviously where the cancer is believed to have begun, and that sometimes it can spread to other parts of the body, and that secondary tumour or that kind of spread is called metastasis. And that's been one of the fundamental things that has held the industry back, is obviously the worry or the fear that massage can cause that metastasization. And as I say, there's no evidence of that at all. And actually, if it were the case, then oncologists would be recommending that their clients did not move, did not exercise, did not shower, did not touch themselves. And of course, we know that's absolutely not the advice. We know the importance of exercise and movement with cancer, and it really is the case with therapeutic massage too. So cancer in its treatments can affect body systems such as the blood, circulation, lymphatic, immune system and the hormonal system. So I'm going to just play this video as well if it will let me. Just bear with me and see if it will through the video. I don't know if it will actually. It won't. So those of you that would like to watch this video, it may do it on the actual video and link you through to it. If not, I'll put a link underneath the video as we share it, so you can kind of see these videos related to the individual slides that they're embedded on. And obviously, if you want to join us on one of the Tpot webinars, we'll play them through the webinar too. So obviously, that's a quick summary on what cancer is. These sort of unruly cells that kind of multiply and mutate into tumours and potentially then also spread around the body. But cancer isn't just a disease, it isn't just a thing. Like anything, any disease, any condition, there's a personal perspective too. And we have so many people that have shared their story with us at Tpot and continue to share their stories with us at Tpot, both from their own perspective and from the perspective of their family and friends. And as a result of that, we have become so much more aware of the real impact that we have when we kind of turn people away. And those of you that know the amazing Aromatherapy Associates, that was obviously co-founded with the beautiful Geraldine Howard, who unfortunately lost her battle with her own cancer. Geraldine was a huge advocate for Tpot and an active part of the Tpot board. And personally for me, was a real ambassador really helped me, point me in the right direction, introduced me to a lot of their medical and scientific findings, references and introductions, and also gave me comfort and reassurance of the direction that Tpot was moving and why. And unfortunately, Geraldine was working on a module for our paid for Train the Trainer programme on how aromatherapy can play a much bigger part in the toolbox for those battling cancer. As you know, that she was obviously a massive advocate in the power of aromatherapy and essential oils, and we really wanted that to be a key part of our Train the Trainer, and we see it as a key part of our Tpot awareness programme across the conditions. Actually, I'm heavily involved with dementia, and the power of essential oils, sleep and light and nutrition, for dementia is also becoming so paramount. And Geraldine was very aware of that and really wanted to share her love and knowledge for everything essential oils within that sort of cancer setting. Sadly, of course, she never managed to complete that module for us, but she was so brave in what was such an aggressive battle with cancer, and we are committed to making sure that all of that information and all of the research and studies and insights that we can pull forward into that training and education will be made available, and that we will continue to do the banging of that drum and sort of make sure that the doors of wellness are flung really widely open to show that link and the power of the sensory stimulation on our well-being. We have the beautiful Gloria Halim, who runs a company called Rock On Divas, and has been an advocate and ambassador with Tpot from the outset. Gloria, as I say, had her own battle, but one of the best things that she found absolutely so necessary to get her through her treatment was the complementary therapies that she enjoyed, and just gave her that opportunity, in her words, to kind of catch her breath, and is now such a big advocate for the importance of nutrition in sort of cancer care. The amazing Eileen Cavalier, who founded the London College of Beauty Therapy, who are committed to work with Tpot to make sure all of this learning and finding is kind of educated and empowered at the grassroots level. So we've got potentially 7,000 therapists coming out every year that will know that it is okay. They'll understand what is possible, what is practical, and what is beneficial to working with anyone with any type of cancer in their spa and salon environment. And Eileen Cavalier unfortunately lost her own battle, with cancer, and it's a big reason why she pushed forward with trying to help us and point us in the direction she did in the short time she had to work alongside us. And she was actually very shocked because she had always experienced complementary therapies alongside her treatment, but she was going to a complementary therapy salon that specialised in complementary therapies, and that's what we found in a lot of our research. People like myself that have done more holistic science and more advanced complementary therapies are much more open and comfortable with working with people with cancer than obviously our mainstream beauty therapists that tend to work in our kind of mainstream salons and spa environments. And so Eileen Cavalier was also very keen to make sure that they were at the forefront of that change, and with, like most things, they really are. We have Francesca Manzi, who was an advocate and ambassador at the beginning with Tpot, who is part of the VTCT team, and again going through her own cancer and identifying the importance for herself of having access to treatment and seeing that date in her diary every week really mentally and emotionally helped her through a diagnosis. And she's been a key part of the VTCT team of pushing through the extra curriculum and advanced training and development that they have embarked upon. So we, in our main programmes, talk about what it's like to be diagnosed with cancer. We have obviously a lot of ambassadors and advocates that want to share their story and have shared their story with us. That has enabled us to gain a real deep insight into it. And more importantly, we also talk to people that have been turned away, so you can hear firsthand, what it's like to be turned away from a spa and all the different ways people have been turned away from a spa. And quite often that can be the most upsetting because it's not just that as a blanket rule we seem to have been unable to welcome people with cancer. We seem to have not even bothered to train people how to do it nicely or well. So quite often we have inexperienced, intimidated therapists, scared therapists, face to face with someone, quite often in a public setting, in the reception, a welcome area, the rest area, or inside the treatment room, having to say, sorry, I can't do this for you today, and actually you're going to have to leave. We actually have one of our ambassadors who is a lead oncologist at the Christie, herself went to a spa, again got her own diagnosis, which after working in the sector herself for so long was, a real challenge for her to both face her own cancer diagnosis but also think about where she wanted to be treated, amongst her own hospital colleagues or, in a different environment. And one of the things that her husband thought would be a nice thing to do to just help her take some respite from all this thinking and thought process that was being consumed in what was going to be best to move her forward, he took her to a leading spa. And at that spa, she had used the pool and the gym and the saunas and steam rooms for a good day or two before she'd gone in for her treatment. And obviously going in to check in for her treatment, she got given a consultation form for the first time. And at that point had identified that she had cancer. And it was at that stage she was told categorically, we cannot do a treatment for you today. You should have been advised, blah, blah. She stood at the reception saying, I am a lead oncologist. I can guarantee you that nothing you do can impact my cancer, and I am happy to sign any form of disclaimer or put my initials, here's my business card, to that statement. They had management down and senior management down, and still she was refused treatment. It is just bonkers. And obviously the impact of that on her, both for her stay, the connection with her husband, the opportunity to steal some magic moments together before God knows what was coming next, all just obviously ripped away. And those of you that have seen our Tpot videos from our Tpot Train the Trainer pilot programme last January will see the beautiful Rachel Walker, who is a big ambassador and a patient ambassador with Look Good, Feel Better, an incredible voluntary organisation that directly helps people kind of, learn how to look after their skin and put makeup on after they've been diagnosed and just come together and connect and socially, kind of find that sort of camaraderie, if you like. And Rachel herself, was rejected from a spa and had then waited to go in remission. The type of cancer she had meant she had been out of active treatment for a long, long time, but there was no way that her oncologist could put that she was in remission. So she was refused treatment from this organisation. And then as a result, she was also told when she did come to redeem it, of which again she was refused, but even if they hadn't refused her, they told her that voucher was no longer valid, i.e. that treatment package no longer existed, and as a result she would have to upgrade her package. So they gave her and presented her the price she would have to pay on top of what she already had she wanted to continue with a similar experience, which for me is just like kicking sand in someone's face when they lay on the floor or adding in the boot when they're already wounded. I mean, it's just brutal, and it's happening in its hundreds and thousands and has been. And that's where I say we have a responsibility to come together and to make this different, because this is not the time to turn our backs or shut the door. So we're not going to go through the whole programme, but I did want to just highlight what is different about your touch. When we talk at Tpot about treating people with cancer, as I say, we're always talking about treating them for a therapeutic massage, and adapting and modifying based on who they are at that moment as they present to us. So we broke it down, or I should I say broke it down into kind of 5 key areas. Our intention, our style, pace and pressure, the positioning and modifying and adapting, additional hygiene, other hazards, risks and precautions. And as I say, we go into this in a lot more detail in our training, but I just wanted a simple summary of what is different for all the stuff you already know. All the anatomy and physiology you should already understand, all the consultation skills and communication skills you should already have, all the hygiene awareness you should already have no matter who you're treating, all the ways that you would position and modify and adapt anyone to make them more comfortable, whether they had a prosthetic leg, are pregnant, had a sore shoulder, or a, kind of felt faint or dizzy, or, whatever the issue presenting, how you would position, modify and adapt as standard for a treatment, and obviously depending on what was presented. The style, pace and pressure, and our intention. So if we work back from them, so our intention, I believe as a therapist, we are pushed with our intention to always get people retailing. And although I'm a big advocate for retail, I think quite often in the industry we go about it the wrong way. We talk much more about getting 2 or 3 products into our clients' hands than making sure we're getting the right product into our client's hand. And I think we can only really get the right product into our client's hand when we're truly taught how to communicate and consult properly. So we're recommending the right things for the right areas the client is genuinely concerned about in that moment. And that may not be in line with their treatment. They may be in for a facial, but their concern is their feet. It's about making sure that our recommendations are right and relevant. But quite often our intention is and should be about getting our client back in for treatment. I'm a big believer that we should focus much more on rebooking than retail. If we get people back in first, then we can retail more often and more relevantly for that individual. And we can go on a journey with them, in partnership with them, hand in hand, and work them through those results. That isn't always practical, I appreciate, in some destination spas and resorts where you're potentially only seeing somebody once a year. But it is possible if we work together and collaborate with other like-minded businesses, and that's a whole different conversation for another time. But our intention is always about getting people back in for treatment and potentially getting them onto a home care programme that's right and relevant for their needs. When we're treating people with cancer, I believe that intention needs to completely change and disappear. So, I don't care when I'm treating somebody with cancer about getting them back in for another treatment. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to see them again. It means my intention is right here and right now, more so than any other time, to make sure that in this moment, I can give them all the nurture and nourishment and love and soothing and calmness I can possibly give them, that I can genuinely connect with them here and now. Because maybe they will come back, maybe they won't. Maybe they will come back and it won't be me that sees them. Maybe they'll, it'll be something else they'll want at that point because they can. There's lots of variables, of course, with any client, but particularly with someone with cancer, I want therapists to really focus their intention on that moment, on really connecting in that 30 minutes, that 90 minutes, that 60 minutes, whatever it is you have with the client. Your intention is about bringing them to a place of restorative care to really nurture and nourish, and that's where I want my therapist's head at when they're treating somebody going through something as challenging as cancer. As style, pace and pressure changes, because we as an industry with massage, and my key skill and expertise was always in body work. And, I find the human body fascinating, and there's nothing more satisfying than working it and working with it and adapting, to enable somebody to really feel the full power of their body. But when we take a Swedish massage as our standard, quite often what we've seen with product houses and with an industry as a whole is we've tried to get clever, and we now do lots of different movements. They can be quite complicated and quite invigorating, and we're creating a culture of people thinking that deeper is better, and that's not always the case. Actually, to work on a sensory nervous system, quite often less really is more, and light can be as mentally and emotionally uplifting and therapeutic as deep and powerful. Now, I, like the next person, love a really deep massage, Thai yoga massage, somebody getting their elbows into my shoulders, beautiful. But there are times when it is much better, when we want to really deepen our emotional and mental connection with someone, when actually to take that pressure right the way off and to really lengthen our movements, slow them right down and lighten our pressure is best. And when we're trying to look at a universally safe technique for someone who's got up and stood in front of us ready to have a treatment, that has a cancer diagnosis, whether they've just been diagnosed or have gone right the way through and well completed their active treatment, this is the treatment that we recommend. It's a light, therapeutic, effleurage-based massage that encompasses connection, and it's about creating a nervous response mentally and emotionally with their client, as well as giving them the benefits of the physical and therapeutic effect of massage. Positioning, modifying, adapting. So it's about making people comfortable. If they've got Hickman lines in, or a PICC line, or they've got a catheter bag, or they've had a, sort of mastectomy, or they've got a prosthetic, any of those things, we need to position, modify and adapt. That might mean that, we're learning how to do a treatment on the side, or with the client sat up, or the client seated, or the client lay into something, or the client, positioned normally but just with extra bolsters, cushions in areas depending what. But again, that's about being confident and comfortable to ask the right questions, identify the right needs for that client in that moment, and then adapt your treatment, as we should be doing with every client anyway, here in that moment, to give them the best use of their time and your skills and expertise. So that's part of our workshop training, and we spend a big area of time looking at that. But I mean, Hickman lines, PICC lines, catheter bags, all these things are not just related to cancer. I mean, these are things we should be teaching therapists in consultation skills anyway, because people present with them for lots of reasons, not just because they're battling with cancer. Additional hygiene. Yes, somebody has a much more lowered immune system when they're going through cancer, and cancer obviously directly impacts the immune system. So as a result, we do have to be a little bit more cautious with our hygiene. But our hygiene for level 3 qualified beauty therapists should be exceptional anyway. Unfortunately, I judge sometimes for the World Spa Awards, and quite often you can see where the hygiene areas are, kind of overlooked and sort of, negated. And, that's really important with any client, but particularly with somebody with an immunosuppressed, or somebody who is immunosuppressed. Additional hygiene, additional hand washing. If we have coughs and colds and things like that, that we are able to either flex it so our client can go with another therapist who doesn't have a cough or a cold, or adjusting our treatment, or informing of the client of that. So we've got to make sure that additional hygiene is taking care of, the sterilisation of our towels and our bed linen, the extra, washing of our hands if the client has any cuts or abrasions, that we're not moving from one area of the body to the other without washing our hands again, and that we break sometimes the fluidity we normally so desperately want in spa treatment, and we don't forsake that fluidity, we don't forsake that hygiene for the fluidity. It's okay to stop and connect for the right reasons, or stop and disconnect, for the right reasons. And so again, in our workshops, we talk to people about what some of those reasons might be. And we just emphasise the up and beyond hygiene areas that we should focus on for somebody with an immunosuppressed system. Other hazards, risks and precautions. Now, it's not my job or responsibility, and it's not something I wanted Tpot to focus in on. When it comes to all the other facilities, now I've always run wellness facilities, and to me wellness is about all stuff nutrition, so whether that's cafes and food and beverage and restaurants, or whether that's sort of exercise, whether that's just yoga and mindfulness and meditation, breath work, or whether it's right the way through to all sorts of aerobics and tennis and rackets and outdoor swimming and rock climbing walls and whatnot, or whether and therapy, and that's whether that's physical therapy, i.e. massages and facials and beauty therapies, and sort of mental and emotional health therapies. That to me is wellness. That's something that covers the kind of movement, exercise, movement, nutrition and therapy sort of angles. And so ultimately, when somebody comes to, quite often, obviously our spas at least, there will be other facilities that they can quite often use. So I think you do have a responsibility, with potentially 50% of the population now coming forward that may have a cancer. If you're not establishing a little health awareness before those clients come in, then you definitely have a duty of care, I believe, to make it known around your facility on who should be using what facilities and who should be seeking guidance from your specialists on site. And that, if we're going to turn people away for a therapeutic massage, then we should genuinely be questioning as an industry what other facilities we're allowing people to use, and what standard of hygiene that we're vigorously monitoring and testing when it comes to kind of everything from hydrotherapy pools to saunas and steam rooms, because I've seen some shockers, I have to say, and I definitely wouldn't be recommending any of my immediate family or friends to be going into some of those facilities, had they been as they were. So, we look at what other hazards, risks and precautions we have within the spa, destination spa, health farm, resort setting, but it's for the individual spas and salons to make those guidelines and to work with, their health and safety experts and specialists to bring that into line and make sure it's right and relevant for their client group. So I'm not going to go into these main slides now. These talk about things that you might see. I won't go into them in detail. Again, we do it on our workshops, and we have some webinars coming up that will drill into some of these areas in a lot more detail. But, we have a whole host of benefits that we know therapeutic massage brings, from improving anxiety, stress, and fatigue. Now, it seems such a simple statement, but anxiety, stress, and fatigue can underpin so much and limit people so much in the quality of their life and their well-being, their ability to feel good. So we have that power by offering therapeutic massage, helping them with all sorts of disorders, from digestive to soft tissue to vascular aches and pains, headaches, nausea. All of those things can be helped and alleviated with massage. And these aren't just things that we as an industry like to say. I mean, a lot of this is founded, and you can go back and find a whole host of medical research and scientific studies, advocating the integration of therapy and massage therapy to help reduce pain, or even the perception of pain, help people feel better about the way they look, help people feel more relaxed, help them reduce anxiety and generally have a better quality of life. So those medical scientific studies and research papers are out there, and actually I just read one this morning on the use of aromatherapy essential oils for inhalation, which is how the Christie use essential oils quite often, and also massage before their chemotherapy treatment. And by chemotherapy session 3 and 4, the nausea and vomiting, the actual sense of nausea and the physical number of times somebody was vomiting has been greatly reduced in the blind studies of those that had either inhaled or inhaled with some massage just for 15 minutes prior to their chemotherapy. So, we have to keep focusing on the benefits. As an industry, what we've done is go, oh, gosh, cancer's really scary. And it really is. Cancer's really scary, and no evidence of it, but we might cause harm, so we won't touch it at all. Instead of going, okay, cancer's really scary. Is there any evidence of harm? Gosh, look at how much benefit we can give. Let's just focus on the benefits and tread carefully, educatively, consciously, and collaboratively, but let's move forward. And so that's what, with Tpot, we're hoping to do. So we want people to learn more and do more. And fundamentally, as we say, we want you to stop turning people away. You can, if somebody's well enough to get up and get dressed in front of you in your spa, there is something you can do. If they have lymphedema, if they have signs and symptoms of being really unwell, if they are at palliative care and they're in a hospital or hospice setting, you need much more advanced training. But within the spa environment, if they're presenting to you and they're in active treatment with any form of cancer, a therapeutic massage on specific areas or full body, depending on the type of cancer and their stage, is completely safe, and there are no medical reasons or evidence to suggest that we can do anything other than good. So we run some Tpot awareness programs. Now, these are all online for now. We are running some therapeutic touch practitioner programs coming up the summer and autumn this year. All of our programs are free to attend. So, of course, the only way we can make that happen is funding. I've invested the first 15,000 into Tpot to get it to this stage. Moving forward, we have to rely on collaboration, and we hope as an industry, one of the things that we can do is, one, we can collaborate. Two, we have such amazing facilities and services that hopefully if we can pull together, we have the spaces to deliver training. We have the services to be able to, put on to make this and to add, value and to create funding. So if we can work together, we're committed to give the educational insights, research and training. What we need is people to step forward and say, count us in, how do we help? We've got facilities that could cater up to 100 people. We've got a venue where you could use, it's got, sort of 40, 50 stations. What we have realised is the demand is well outweighing supply. And I currently have around 250 spas and salons on my books waiting for us to deliver training to them. What we can't do viably, as much as I'd love to and logistically, is go out to every individual salon and spa and deliver a training for 4 people here and 5 people there and 8 people here. It's hardly very viable for a leading brand. It really isn't viable for us when we are completely unfunded, and it's just literally funded at the moment by Spa Business School. So we need to make sure that we work together to create these venues. But in the meantime, until we find venues big enough to be able to take the size and demand that we are coping with or facing, then we will continue to do as many online programs and education as possible and bring you as much of the latest thinking and point you in as much direction as possible. But if we can also get those colleges and all those private training organisations to be doing more and to be running programs, then again we can just make sure that this becomes the norm. We will also be running some intensive train the trainer programs. We've been inundated for requests. We already have our first train the trainer program sort of scheduled outside of the pilot scheme we've ran. It will be by application only, so if you are interested, do email us directly, and that will be an intensive program that will enable people to teach our Tpot therapeutic touch practitioner program. So they will be committed then to doing some of that for free, and obviously, post that they can also offer some for paid for within their own venues, if that becomes relevant, and definitely within their own spa and salon teams. So if that interests you, then do kind of communicate with me directly. And also do plug into the Tpot app, which is at tpot.gapt.com, and we will obviously keep endeavouring to shine our light and get as much education and as much awareness out as possible, because we really do want to do that research at the end of 2018 and find that it has just become the norm, and people just, I would love everyone I phone at the end of 2018 to go, oh gosh, yeah, we changed that ages ago. Oh gosh, yeah, of course we wouldn't turn people away. How ridiculous to think we would. That's the type of responses we want to get at the end of 2018, but we can only do it if we do it together, and we want to be the difference. So please shine your light. Please work with us to look at how you can help. It might be time that you can give. There might be services and facilities you can donate to enable us to kind of do more, or even just ideas, anything at all. I'm sure everyone has something they can bring to the table, and collaboratively we can work together to make this change for the UK, because we have a responsibility to each other and to all of our clients to make sure that we're doing what's right and what's relevant right now. So shine your light. I've been Michelle Hammond, and would love to see you again soon. So please do download our app at tpot.gapt.com. Any struggles with that, or any further information or ideas that you might have, then you can reach us at tpot.org.uk@gmail.com.